most villages. They'll have a lot of modern stuff. Not necessarily be completely modern, but you know.
Like having cell phones, that kind of thing.
I would expect, yeah.
That's the most interesting thing. In some of the backward villages,
Mhm.
you find they have a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's just blows your mind.
Yeah.
It's because of satellite, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is there a lot of security there, where you said it was dangerous? Is there security to cover you guys when you go out about the villages?
Yeah, there's a security team on just about any Ethnos field where they evaluate the risks and stuff in the areas. As far as I know, like there are certain countries in West Africa that are higher risk. I believe Senegal, where I'll be going at least for the first part, is one of the safest countries in the area and the most peaceful. So, yeah, but Ethnos is very aware of security risks and they're very vigilant in making sure their missionaries are safe.
Mhm. That's good,
Mm-hmm.
very needed.
Mm-hmm.
Most of that area of West Africa, the trade language is French, right? Or Pidgin?
Definitely in Senegal,
Yeah.
yeah, and probably Ivory Coast. Guinea, I believe the predominant language would be Susu, as far as as far as I understand, at least.
Okay.
Would you live right amongst the villagers, or would you just have your group that you would live like in a hotel or in?
No, we would, thank you. There's actually a family that I know right now they're in a city near, or like a village, a town near the village where they're hoping to live. They're waiting for an invitation to be able to move into that village. So yeah, but yeah, we would be living right among the people, doing life with them, experiencing their culture.
And of course, the challenge would be the food in the area, different foods.
Oh, there'll definitely be different foods.
No raccoons.
Maybe not. There'll be lots of other weird stuff.
Lots of mangoes.
Mm-hmm.
Mangoes and passion fruit. And,
Mm-hmm. Probably a good amount of fish,
Mhm.
at least in where I'll be for the first 2 years.
So is it a mountainous area in the island, or?
Well, like it's sub-Saharan.
Okay.
I think as far as I'm aware, it would be rather flat,
Oh, okay.
and a fairly dry climate.
Yeah.
I've seen some, trying to figure out where I can find some pictures, but yeah, but some of the pictures that I've seen have been, like they'll have, during the wet season, they'll have nice lush and green, but a lot of the pictures are quite brown. Well, actually, like that one.
Oh, yeah.
rainy season and dry season, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, let's see if I can. That's fine. Just trying to find the right pictures. So these are some pictures from West Africa that I have got from the Ethnos website from people there.
Do you have information available about your support level and how much you need to raise and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so let me pull up the other PowerPoint. So this would be the breakdown from, and that needs to be updated actually. So this would be the breakdown from Ethnos of my ministry budget. So personal expenses would be about $1,200. Benefits and taxes would be $1,100. Ministry expenses would be $900. So the total amount I would need per month would be $3,315 per month.
And those expenses would include like apartment rent and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that would be under
Person.
personal. So personal includes living expenses like that, transportation, so, yeah, traveling in country and fuel, savings for a new car, buying a car to begin with, things like that. There's miscellaneous, which would be, yeah, various like personal living expenses. My tithe would be taken out of that. Housing, so yeah, again, yeah, living expenses, housing. And then benefits and taxes, so the $3,000 is before taxes. And then Ethnos also helps us budget for retirement savings and medical insurance, which we don't have to worry about in Canada, but once you go overseas, it might be a good idea. Yeah, and then ministry expenses includes like administration, communication, equipment. You need some very specific technologies for living in a tribe. Office supplies, travel around, yeah, to and from the field or things like that. Miscellaneous, legal, home assignment, and tribal team expense, which I believe would be like, yeah, things towards the team would use, like a generator or something like that.
That does not include your initial expenses of getting your
I was
airline
gonna say, yeah,
tickets and
what's
all
the
that,
tip?
and
No.
going passports and everything
Yeah.
else.
So that would be an additional, so that number is variable, it'll depend on the price of tickets and it'll depend on some of the in-country expenses when I get there, but it'll be roughly $5,500 of startup costs.
For your flights and everything else. Yeah. Yeah. God is able.
So, yeah, that current support level, I'm actually at $455 a month so far, already committed. So that would actually put me at 13.8%.
That's when I'm having to talk about the expenses. When the missionaries go into the mission field, that's always one of the hardest things to do, because you know that people already have a lot of expenses on their own, but you know that you cannot go without the help from your church family or from friends and others who are willing to support. And not everybody can, that's for sure, but we can all pray to help. But I remember very well when I went to the mission field 100 years ago, that was one of the hardest things to go represent and say, but I need this much money to go. Back then, it was a pittance compared to what it is now. But still, and yet God supplied in marvelous ways, and we didn't have an abundance, but we had enough to meet our needs for sure. So I thought maybe it'd be good to hear a little bit about that.
Thank you.
Do you have to have any special medical concerns for going overseas, like immunization?
Yeah, there's a list of recommended vaccines. Yeah, I haven't got the appointment with my doctor to get all that set up yet, but yeah, mainly vaccines. Yeah, malaria is a factor there. They actually recommend a rabies vaccine before you go, because the post-exposure treatment is not usually available there. So
Is cholera and typhoid also?
I saw typhoid,
Smallpox?
Yellow fever,
yellow fever, yeah.
Yellow fever.
I already have that one actually.
yeah.
I feel like there was one that might have been cholera, they said is not recommended because it's only 50% effective.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'll have to go and look through that at some point and actually get to it.
And how are the like local authorities like towards? You say it's largely Islamic.
Yeah, it's
How do they
largely.
work around that? Like,
Yeah, well, it's largely Islamic, but it is a very open and free area as far as I'm aware. We don't, like, in terms of a Westerner coming, or at least a Canadian, I just arrive in the country and there's paperwork to do once I get there, but I don't have to get my visa or anything before I go. There is a Christian church there. As I mentioned, I'll spend the first 2 years connecting with the local church. It sounds like there's actually, there would be quite a few churches in the local area where I'll be for the first 2 years, because about 6 months after I arrive there, they'll set you up with a host church and a host family from that church.
Okay.
So then I would be intentionally connecting with that local church and experiencing life and ministry with that host family and that church. So there's, a good Christian presence, and it, as far as I'm aware, is quite free in terms of missions work.
That's good.
Good.
Any other questions? Don't want to drag it out.
I'd love to know what the wildlife is there. It's kind of not important, but.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
that is a good question. That's a good question.
You don't want them coming into your house.
Probably snakes. I'd
and
expect
bugs.
there'd be monkeys.
And they can be dangerous.
I should look into that some more. Because I would expect there in some of the more remote areas, there might be like lions or giraffes or stuff like that, but I'm not actually certain. I'll have to look into that.
Snakes will always be around.
Oh yes, lots of snakes. Yeah.
Not for me.
If you're around there, you know, share having your kind of food in the house.
Oh,
And then get,
let's see.
yeah.
There's a cow.
Definitely have some pets.
Probably
Doesn't
wild
look very
boar.
fat.
Yeah.
Trying to think what
Yeah,
else.
Canadian Tire. Back there, see that?
Canadian Tire.
Canadian Tire. Better fixing tires on it.
Oh, there, yeah.
For the tire shop.
A
Yeah.
little different than normal Canadian Tire.
West Africa.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, most of these pictures are of the people.
You can introduce them to Tim Hortons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is there any other questions?
That was a good presentation.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
We appreciate you sharing.
Now, is there a lot of idol worship there?
It's fairly safe to say yes. There's a
Yeah.
lot of, the religions are mixed with the animism and
Animism.
Probably
Yeah.
besides Islam, the main belief system would be animism, which would be belief in spirits, and trying to control the spirits through various rituals and superstitious type practices would probably be the most predominant belief system.
Good. Let's keep, of course, Pastor Jeremy in prayer as he ministers in Chihuahua. And that's a dry place too, but it looks,
yeah.
anyway, looks like things are going along well. We don't have any pictures here, but maybe you can follow them on Facebook. He's released a few photos here and there. And we saw some last night at the Children's Club. Last night he had a little video done specifically for the kids to see what he's been up to. As usual, climbing around on ladders, and doing dangerous things, and trying not to hurt himself. But, yeah. And of course, Carissa as well. There were some other prayer requests I believe we had from last week.